Real Talk here on 92.7 FM, AM 1400, The Patriot. We're here every Sunday talking about your American dream and what it takes to get from here to there. And Tina, the dream got a little soggy this week.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, so we live in Royal Oak, and if you've been following the news, it's ground
Well, you don't even have to
ground
necessarily
zero.
follow the news. You might just be living in.
Yeah, you might have just
live the
floated your
news.
way by. Ground zero for the catastrophe that was this week's weather.
Yeah.
The pumping station failed, and the water just piled up on I-75. In fact, last I heard, and I haven't been following it real closely, 2 recorded deaths from the storm.
No.
Yeah, from the flooding.
Oh,
And
I didn't hear that.
and our good friend Scott Fader with Suits for Soldiers spent the night helping people out of their
He
cars
did.
stranded in the middle of I-75. He was till 2 a.m. pulling people to safety.
Yeah, he actually spent part of the time pulling them out by 75 and 696, and then got that cleared up, moved to another spot, and it was more help needed, so Scott literally dove in. So
Yeah, he's a hero. I mean, he's an Afghan vet and a founder of Suits for Soldiers and a great guy. And when, duty calls, that's the kind of guy that makes for great community. These are the people that you want to know and you want to be a part of. We've got a great network here at Michigan Real Talk of friends, and later we'll have our friend Menachem Niespec in, and he works with the OperationKidEquip.org, and he'll be talking about back-to-school things and how to help kids who are dealing with poverty in their education. One of the things he told me in the green room, he said, please tell the people not to send their soggy things to their
to the nonprofits.
To the nonprofits.
Right.
They can't use them either.
Right. If you can't use it, they can't use it.
Well, it's a sewer water. The storm drain and the sewer drain share.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets overwhelmed the way it got overwhelmed, what you have is contaminated water in basements. And so there's real problems going on. So later we're going to have in Kevin Stripling. He's a home inspector and certified mold remediation and so on and so forth, and talking about that. But the question on everyone's mind...
I have to say, I'm going to interrupt just for a second. What was really funny is Scott told me that he was wearing his T-shirt that said, "Believe there is good in Detroit," and then in different letters it spells out "Be the Good," so I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, right. So he had to live up to the T-shirt?
Yeah.
Well, he does it anyway. He's that guy. But listen, so the question that's on everybody's mind has to do with this homeowners insurance. And, of course, now, folks, Dreamer, insurance matters in your plan to get from here to there, to achieve your dream, to own your dream. Insurance is a huge part of it. And, of course, now we're actually reading the policy this week to see what the doggone thing said when we signed it. But we've invited into studio today.
We have Robert Peterson with Robert Peterson Insurance Agency, Inc.
And so welcome, Robert. Thanks so much for coming to join us.
Thanks for having me, Paul. Appreciate it.
Well, it's important to get some of Michigan's finest professionals, which people are working on what it is to have an American dream and to get from here to there. And insurance is such a huge part of it. You build a little wealth in your life, you got to cover your assets, man. Cover your assets. Mm-hmm. And insurance is such a huge part of that. So I'm really glad you're able to come talk to the American Dreamer today about homeowners insurance in general. But then later, we'll get to some of these specifics about the, this week's water issues. But 3 main points we're going to cover. We don't have to rush, but I just want to let the dreamer know what's coming. We're going to talk about the anatomy of a policy. What goes into insurance policies?
Sure.
And what are they made up of? We're going to talk about the importance of liability coverage. Talking about cover your assets, man. You got to have some liability coverage that's adequate. And then we're going to get to this question, 3 different kinds of water damage that goes on and all the distinctive things when it comes to insurance. But
Sure.
But generally speaking, talk to me the anatomy of a policy. What do we need to know there?
Well, the first thing with a policy, and every homeowner's policy, is typically the dwelling coverage itself. And one of the things that we get a lot of confusion around when we do an estimated replacement cost on a home is that people say, my home's not worth that. My home didn't appraise for that. That's a very common misconception in our industry. And really what an estimated replacement cost is, it's to rebuild your home brand new, today's cost of material, today's cost of labor. In an appraisal, it's very subject to the real estate market at that point in time. Mm-hmm. We're talking to maybe rebuild a home that was built in the 1950s, but build it brand new today in
Right.
2014. And that's what estimated replacement cost is. And that's how we insure homes. In case there's a total loss, we want to make sure we can rebuild that home like, kind, and quality. Any upgrades that happen over the years, if they put granite countertops, ceramic tile floors, we want to give them back what they had, and then make it brand new again. So that is a misconception. So when people are talking about what we're covering your home for, we're covering it for rebuilding it today.
Yeah, and so
not what it's appraised for.
So yeah, maybe I got a little bungalow in Berkeley.
Sure.
I always like saying bungalow in
Yep.
Berkeley. It just sounds good. And maybe it's worth $160,000 because I fixed it up nice.
Mm-hmm.
But to rebuild it now with today's materials and the
Right.
cost of labor nowadays, it's probably going to be insured for even more than that. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's a potential that we may be insuring for $200,000.
Right.
So I have that discussion off with my clients, and then once they understand that, then they're pretty accepting of it. But they often come in and want to lower that coverage right away because they think they're overpaying.
Right,
And
I
that's something
see.
that I always caution against. I mean, they can if they want to lower it, they can, but I don't advise it.
Yeah, you
'Cause
don't
our
want to
software's
find out
pretty
if
good,
something
yeah.
happens that you only get
Sure.
3/4 of your house back,
Sure.
right?
Yep.